Today's Sunday, March 22nd, and this is news from the Frunk. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of News from the Frunk. Today we're going to talk about software version 6.2. Now, as I record this, the software isn't out yet, so we're going to talk about a press conference that Elon did last Thursday when he talked about the new features that were coming. Now, he says the software update is going to be out in the next 30 days or so. It's currently in beta testing. And we know that software updates have a habit of trickling out depending on exactly what car you've got, which model, when you bought it. So some people might not see the update for quite some time, but hopefully it's going to show up fairly soon. Okay, so 6.2 focuses on a couple of things. One is the elimination of range anxiety. And then the other one is some new active safety features. So let's talk about range anxiety first. Now, Elon said that these enhancements are going to apply to all cars across the range. But from the way he described them, some of them are dependent on the navigation features in the car, which have always been part of the tech package. So what I don't know is whether all these features are available if you don't have the tech package. I've sent an email to Tesla asking for clarification, but I don't have that yet. If I get it, I'll update and add an annotation to this video. So the first new feature is something called range assurance. Elon said it's basically impossible to run out of range unless you do so intentionally with this new feature. So what this feature does, it monitors your location, it monitors the current range in the car, and it monitors where the charging stations are. And it looks at superchargers, it looks at Tesla destination chargers, which I'll talk about in a moment, and it looks at places that you've charged previously. And if you get out of range of any of those locations, it will throw up a warning on screen and tell you you need to do something about it. The other new feature, or really an enhanced feature, is what they call enhanced trip planning. So once you select a destination, with the current generation, with the 6.1 generation, it will just find you the fastest route to wherever you want to go. Well, now it will route you via charging and will calculate the optimal route that minimizes your time, taking the different charging options into account and the time it will take you to charge. So clearly this only applies if you need to recharge on the way. But one of the examples they give is this route that goes all the way from the west coast to the east coast, routing by different superchargers. Every 30 seconds, the system pings Tesla's network and finds out the status of all the superchargers as well. Now, quite whether it's looking at how busy they are, I'm not sure, but certainly if there are any problems at superchargers, it will take those into account when it's calculating that route. The other thing it does, the current version is looking at how heavy-footed you are, and if you look at the new range graph in the car in 6.1, it will predict the range based on the idealized rated range calculation, but it will also update the graph in real time based on how aggressively you're driving. The new version goes a step further, and as well as taking elevation into account, which 6.1 does, it also takes weather conditions into account. We all know that cold weather can eat into the range of this, and if you're going into a headwind, it's also going to shorten your range. But if you've got a tailwind, it's going to improve things. So the system is looking at those figures every 30 seconds, the temperature, the weather, how you're driving, and the status of the superchargers, and giving you the optimal route. Now, the car does know traffic conditions and will calculate the time to destination based on traffic conditions. Elon says it doesn't take traffic conditions into account when it's calculating the range, because in their tests, unless you are going to be sat in traffic for hours and hours and hours with some kind of accident, the actual traffic conditions have relatively little impact on range other than the speed that you're going to be traveling. He says with these new enhancements, the range prediction is now accurate to plus or minus 1%. Now, with it checking every 30 seconds and monitoring those superchargers, if there's a problem, it will reroute you. Now, in places like LA, where there are 3 superchargers within 4 miles, That's pretty good. If there's a problem at Hawthorne, it will switch you over to Culver City. Now, if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere and there's only one supercharger within, a couple of 100 miles, you ain't going to have a lot of choice. But as that supercharger network continues to get built out, this is going to get better and better and better. One of the other things that Tesla pointed out was that there are now over 400 superchargers worldwide. But they also spoke about destination chargers. This has kind of been rolled out fairly quietly. Tesla is trying to encourage people to install the high-power wall chargers at destinations. And so Tesla has a program where if there is a restaurant or a hotel, Tesla will give them free high-power wall connectors as long as those things are in a prominent location. There's already over 900 high-power wall connectors at what they call destination locations, and all those show up on the map in the car and are taken into account when you do that routing. So if you are going away to stay somewhere, then Tesla will suggest using one of those high-power wall connectors at your destination, meaning it's a lot easier and you don't have to worry so much about going off the track of those superchargers. Now, it should be said, of course, that those high-power wall chargers will only give you 30 miles of range per hour if you've got a single charger like I have in my car, or 60 miles of range if you have the dual chargers, versus the 180 or so miles in 30 minutes that you get from a supercharger.